What's up, friends? I wanted to share this experience with you. Just a few hours ago, looks like 7 hours ago, a video teaser was posted for what is being called the Lower Tunguska River. So, presumably, this is a portion of the river, and there's another portion of the upper potentially that we're not going to see in this teaser video, but I wanted to sort of watch it with you, but first I wanted to go back and sort of summarize everything that we know so far about the Tunguska River, and there's not much information leading up to this teaser video. By the way, I've seen a portion of this video because it came across my feed. I had my phone out, and I didn't have any volume, and I didn't watch much of it. So for the most part, I'm going to be sort of seeing this video, this teaser video. For really experiencing it the first time with you all here. But let's backtrack a little bit and talk about what we know so far. And I'm going to walk through, I guess there's now been 3 posts, 1, 2, 3, plus the teaser video. So in a sense, we've had 4 little drips of information. This is the most substantial thing, of course, because we actually have a video flyover. So let's kind of put this together, and again, it doesn't add up to a whole lot of information, but it does start to give us a little bit of some leanings towards what we might come to expect. So back on May 12th, we heard in this post, we were able to take a look over the shoulders of the developers, and we see the first pictures of the Tunguska River. I know the pronunciation police may be out in full force after this video, and I apologize. But, you know, it is what it is. And it says here, it's a fast-flowing, oxygen-rich water in the heart of Siberia. Sounds cold. Although this area is primarily known for its geological events, the beauty of this untouched piece of wilderness also invites anglers. And if you do some Google search, this is, I guess, a real place. I was able to find a little bit of information, but nothing that came up, at least initially in some Google searching, made it stand out as like, oh, this is this huge, like, prime fishing place. But there was a little bit of information. I mean, I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying that at least the top hits that I found when I was trying to get a little bit of real-life information on this area, it didn't provide a ton of info. You can expect more than 20 new fish species. I think I talked about this last time when we first got some new news. That will be interesting to see, like, okay, we have new species. Is that including variants of existing species? Which I think that's probably fair if it is. But it will be exciting to see, like, completely new species that we've never seen before. You know, what does that look like? How does that impact our fishing? And then this sort of throwaway comment here, which doesn't have the weight to it several news posts down the line, but this was sort of the only new thing we had back on May 12th when this came out. A new type of artificial bait and much more. And that's the thing, like, I didn't even remember that on this original post even, it was hinting towards, and there's going to be much more. What is that new type of artificial bait, right? It'll be fun to see. But it's just such an interesting choice, like that's what was highlighted here in this first piece of information, right, about the new bait. As usual, we'll share some of the development with you until publication. You can find current information announcements on our usual platforms, your RF4 team. And so this is what we got, a couple of pictures. And these look beautiful. I loved these 2 pictures, especially this one. And I think I was hopeful from this picture alone that maybe there was going to be some new, like, graphical elements to the water movement, what that looked like. And there's some foreshadowing there. But that also got me thinking back when this first came out, like, is this going to be the time that they introduce fly fishing? Because maybe a little bit colder environment. You know, how are there some streams a part of this map? Like, is there going to be some trout? Is it just fly fishing going to make sense? And more, it doesn't look like that's the case. I mean, it almost certainly does not look like that's the case at this point. But I don't know. We do have that and much more comment. So I don't think we can say with any certainty what is or is not going to be included. But those are the first 2 pictures we got. The next thing we got on June 10th, and so we're talking about, goodness, 1 month later, the next piece of news. And if there was any updates in between all this, I apologize. I think these four things are all of the direct information we've gotten. And this is the post that probably, in my mind at least, got me on the wrong track, because after this came out, I was convinced that we were on the eve of experiencing this new river. And now that I've seen the four posts sort of all together over the course of time, and I've thought about when other water bodies have been released, I've realized that all of this is just an extended run-up to build excitement. And so far, nothing has been like, that, and it's coming out this weekend. I mean, that's not been what the intent was, apparently. But this does highlight a really interesting thing here, and I think this is something we need to wrap our minds around as we even mentally prepare for this new river. This river is a paradise for spin fishermen, right? Now, that doesn't necessarily mean this river will stink if you like float fishing, or this river will be the worst if your favorite is bottom fishing. That doesn't necessarily mean that, but what we've seen in the past is a lot of times there will be at least a focus on one type, and I could see how in their mind, amber is such a big deal in terms of carp fishing and bottom fishing that even though Seversky was technically the last water body to come out, if this is a sort of bigger thing than Seversky, that again, it might make sense in the balance of the whole game to have something, again, sort of prioritizing spin fishing. Lately, places like Volkhov and Corey, at least in my experience, have been terrific and have kind of brought back a lot of players seeing it being worth their time and getting a lot of enjoyment out of trolling and even just spin fishing spots. But if you look back over the course of the past year or more, it does feel like there's still an opportunity to have even more to do for the folks who are mainly into spin fishing. So that's good news for those folks. It says there are many new trophies waiting for you, not just the infamous taimen, but also many other fish species, also other fish such as the humpback salmon and Nelma. Again, pronunciation police. I'm going to get ahead of you here and say Nelma. I'm not sure. But we've got a picture of both the salmon and the before mentioned Nelma here, which I believe the Nelma, if again doing a little Google search, I believe those do get to be pretty decent size, maybe not quite taimen size, but pretty large. I think the humpback salmon or pink salmon, if I'm not mistaken, tend to be a little smaller. These are not like comparable to Atlantic salmon. On average, a little smaller than that. So, or maybe a lot smaller than that. I don't remember the specifics. So that's what we got in this update. New fish models for 2 of the new species, right? This was June 10th. Well, it didn't take long. 1 week later, we got another news update, which June 17th takes us to about, 2.5 weeks ago? I don't know. Math is not my best. Maybe a little over 2.5, almost 3 weeks. Anyway, something like that. I guess I could count here. What did we say? The 17th, 1 week, 2 weeks, just over 2 weeks. Okay. So here we have news. Now this is interesting. So first we had, looking over the developer's shoulders, a couple of pictures, not a whole lot of information. And then we had, here's a couple of the new fish species. And then now we're getting a snapshot of an update of what some of the new gear might be like. Not much information. Again, we're just getting little trickles here. But this is big news. I mean, this is a game changer. It says, Dear fishing friends, with the next update, we're happy to announce a new class of fishing reels. The heavy bait casting reels will help you deal with particularly large trophy fish. So this is a big deal, and I don't just mean the fact that we're going to have heavy bait casters. That in and of itself is a big deal. But when you think about what does introducing heavy bait casters to the game mean for balancing everything else, and that to me feels complicated. Now maybe it's not as complicated as I'm making it in my head, but if these are going to be significantly more powerful, then what is there going to be a negative to using one of these to just overpower many of the fish that are currently in the game, or many of the smaller fish, or is there not a negative? I don't know. Again, I just feel like balance suddenly comes into play here, that may or may not have to be addressed. Other questions about cost come into play. Whenever there's a category of equipment, and there's lots of them, right? We've got, just with reels, we've got spinning reels, low profile bait casting, classic bait casting, now heavy bait casting. You think about all the different types of rods we have with things like picker rods and jerk bait rods or whatever, and then all the normal ones. Each category, typically you have like an entry point that, though it may be a little more expensive because it might be a little bit specialized, it still is like an entry point. It's usually not that expensive to get like the lowest quality of whatever category you're talking about. But even the lowest quality heavy bait casting reel, you have to imagine is going to have more strength than anything else in the game, or at least comparable to the nicest or strongest current reels in the game. At least that's what I would think. Again, I could be wrong about any of this, but this is just kind of where my mind goes. Bottom line, I'm excited. I can't wait to see what these are like. I'm a little nervous about what the cost is going to be. Someone on one of my previous YouTube channel videos had mentioned, I think because I was talking about this during a fishing video where I was actually fishing, had mentioned, I think the starter reel will be like 50,000 silver. Wow. I cannot imagine that. Again, I could be wrong. But when you click on the store on heavy bait casting reels, assuming that there's like a variety of them, it's possible that maybe there's just 3 or something. I don't know. But assuming that there's the normal quantity as you would see in another category, for the cheapest one to be 50,000 silver? That would be hard for me. Like, I'd be surprised. That would be a really steep entry point to having a heavy bait casting reel. But you could make the argument, I guess, that that's one way to balance the fact that it does make reeling in so many other fish in the game inconsequential at that point. So I don't know. It seems just complicated to me. I've spent enough time talking about it. I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are. How do you balance all this? Do you balance it, or do you just kind of let the chips fall? But that's not all we got in this update. We also got the news that we're planning to update some models. Notice that's plural, of reels that already exist in the game. And this is what reinforces to me that they are thinking across all of the equipment, or at least all the reels in this update. So they're introducing heavy bait casting, but they're also thinking about other things. And to me, that's where the idea of balancing comes in. But it's pretty clear here. This is going to be the Blackbird 2, right? And so I believe what is in the game presently, and let me do this. What's in the game presently is the Blackbird 1. And this is a low profile bait casting reel. It's pretty sharp looking, right? I like it. I've never used one. 6.5 max drag with a 641 gear ratio, 3.5 star rating, just under 1,000 silver. I think it looks really cool though. That is the older model. And then what we're getting now is this. And I actually like the way this looks. You've got the black versus the darker red, versus what's currently in the game for the 1 is like a maroon and gray is how I would describe it, I think. So I think it's going to look really sweet. We see 6.4 gear ratio there. That's going to be the same, right? Yeah. So it's possible that the stats are not changing, though we don't know that for sure. It may literally just be the models, like the visual models. It's kind of what it seems like. I don't think we can say anything for sure. Okay, so that brings us to the most recent update. So that was June 17th. And then today, posted 7 hours ago here on July 3rd, we get the lower Tunguska River video teaser. So let's watch this together. And it's possible that I'll pause it and talk a little bit. If you haven't seen this video yet, feel free to just like go to the forums or their YouTube channel or whatever and watch it uninterrupted so that you don't have to listen to me talking over it if you would like to do that. But I thought we could just experience this together. So let's get it started. So this is obviously just a trail, right? This is just a path, a trail. And I do remember this from the music, a similar music that we got playing for the Seversky sneak peek trailer. Which, if you go back and watch that sneak peek to Seversky Donuts, we saw a lot of the key places. You do get a pretty good feel for what Seversky's like if you go back and watch that teaser trailer in hindsight. Now, again, apparently this is just the lower Tunguska River, which there's no way you say that unless you're going to have an upper, right? So we'll see. That implies to me this might be a really big map, big river. But in this first frame of actual water, we see a lot of water. There's some shore over here, right? On the left side, we've got some shore. I guess one of my early concerns is, will there be plenty of places from the shore to fish? And there probably will be, but man, that is a big old river. At least it looks like it from this scene. What is that? Is that maybe a boat ramp right there on the water? I can't tell. I think it was. All right, we're going to get a good view, and this has got to be maybe the main town, right? And that again looks like possibly a boat ramp, at least a dock. I can't really tell. That almost looks like netting, but that might not be what it is. But you would think that these are a lot of the buildings. Almost looks like a barn building maybe back there, but several buildings. That's going to be the village area, I would presume. The music's kind of cool. Definitely a dock. A pretty large dock. Maybe even larger than Volkov, it looked like. Again, just lots of water. Lots of water, but you do see some areas on both sides where even if you have to get there by boat, it looks like there are plenty of places. It just depends on what can you fish from those spots on the shore. I just hope there's some good shore fishing. I'm sure there will be. This place looks so big. I think you would be crazy not to put multiple types of areas all in this map. It just appears to me that it's going to be really large. And again, I think we're coming up on the main city or village or whatever from the other direction now. Straight in front of us is going to be that same, looks like that dock area perhaps. That's what I'm thinking at least. Okay. That is a bizarre picture. So we have a fish. Does somebody want to tell me what kind of fish that is? I'm not exactly sure. I mean, is that a time? I'm not sure. And what is this? Should I know what that is? It's really eluding me. My first thought is like some sort of Viking shield, but that can't be right. Is that something that you would carry? I don't know. I should stop guessing. A little water bucket there. But this is an interesting scene. I assume this really will be in the game. Like, are we always going to see this fish just sitting in the canoe? Maybe so. But that's interesting. Now, they've had canoes and stuff in the water. That doesn't necessarily mean we'll be able to use that canoe, but that would be fascinating. Okay, just real quick. Unless there's like an invisible barrier, this does look like a lot of land that you can move through, which maybe the river bends, and so it's like a shortcut to get to another, or there's a pond or you know, a river coming, a stream coming off the river, and you get to it that way. I don't know, but that's kind of interesting. Here we are. Is this that same path again? Maybe going from the opposite direction. Okay. I don't see anything that we've seen before out here. And that's, again, just huge amount of water. And there's no way to know this for sure, but I'm wondering if this is that still running water? Is that part of the river? Wow. Okay, and this, again, that picture that we saw that made you think like, okay, they're going to actually have some rapids, some visual improvements on moving water. This looks cool. Very cool looking. And that seems to be feeding into... Okay, now you see a mixture of like still some of the rapids, some of the current coming into the larger part of the river perhaps. Okay, again, there's the village. Are we on the backside now? How does this connect? Maybe it comes to a point. All right, this is inside the village. I love seeing some of the way the choices they make on the different buildings. Is there anything we can glean from these buildings? So this kind of reminds me of, what do you call it on Winding? The farmer's market or whatever they call it. I don't know why, but that's what that sort of reminds me of. You go up to the wooden fence there. I wish I could read that, but I just can't. I don't know what that says. That looks like a porta potty over there. Is that a... Somebody's gonna help me with this. I really don't know what. Yeah, I'm not sure. There's probably lots of clues here that I'm missing though. Okay, that looks awesome. Some places on the shore, again, near rocks. So, you know, maybe similar to some spots, maybe pretty similar to Belaya. Pronunciation police. It feels like they're trying to show us the scope of the river there. That's a really cool scene there. You see kind of through the weather, or the daylight changes. That looks really nice though. Seems like you can be on either side. Okay, so there's a point. I think this place is going to be massive. So that is encouraging. I like to see land in the middle of the river because that opens up the ability to cast to so many different spots on both sides in terms of bottom fishing. Or spin fishing from shore even, or a combination of both. So I like that there's that sort of land running right down the middle, it appears. I hope there's a lot of that. Again, current, you can see the movement of the water there. Looks really cool. Shoot, what is that? That's a little boat down there, a little motorboat. Again, could be just a visual thing. Could also be a place where we can, although it's on the land, I mean, that would be different, right? Currently, you can't rent or jump into any boats that aren't already in the water, even though we do have the ability to push off now. So that's probably just visual. And that's it. RF4. Okay. So that's the video teaser. And this was released 7 hours ago. So, I think it is, at least for me, it's helpful now that we've had several pieces of news to kind of understand that this is a process. This is a lead up. Yes, it is possible that this comes out next week or the week after. It is also possible that this doesn't come out till October. It just depends on how much they want to give us building up to it, leading up to it. Where are they in development and testing? And then will also, will they take the time to do what they did with Amber? They were, someone was reminding me, I think it was Elwoody, somebody was reminding me recently in my stream that for Amber, they did take a couple of folks and allow them to do like a preview video or two, maybe a weekend or whatever, so that folks could actually see people fishing there. And that was, again, before it was released. So I guess it's helped me in some ways because back on, June 10th, I was ready to get started. I mean, I really thought like, okay, the first Tunguska expedition is drawing near. That had a certain meaning in my mind, and now that I've seen more updates, I realize that it's just unknowable, I guess, at this point, how far away we are. And I'm more okay with that now than I think I was then. Then I was like antsy, like, okay, let's go. Now I'm like, this is awesome. We're getting some really cool information. I'll be excited when it comes out. But I'm also having a great time fishing across many of the different bodies of water we already have. And we'll just be excited when it does release. So let me know what your thoughts are. I've shared my thoughts on a lot of different things, and would love to hear things that you have a different take on. Please provide any feedback or suggestions or thoughts you have. Also, is this kind of video enjoyable at all? Or should I just stick with the fishing? It's one of the things I've been thinking about lately is, especially as we have big news things coming out. I'd like to be able to talk about it, but just trying to figure out, like, is it more helpful here, or is this something I should just maybe do on stream, and in the opportunities that I have through Twitch. But I'm trying to also provide as much content as possible through my YouTube channel. I hope y'all are having a great weekend. I've just gotten back from out of town, so I'm going to get some fishing in. Thanks for putting up with this long-winded video. But really it was just an excuse for me to experience this teaser video with you all, and it certainly leaves me very excited. I'm curious to see kind of what it means, the balance of spin fishing versus other types of fishing, and then just the overall state of the game once heavy bait casters are in, and who knows what else we're going to get. So tight lines, wet nets, and I will see you next time.